grateful, honestly, that Hannah asked me about this, because I wasn't thinking about balance. I've been thinking a lot about a lot of things, but one of the things I've been thinking a ton about is how unbalanced my life is. And as she asked me and invited me to talk about it, I thought, actually, you know what? That is really cool. My view of balance has just shifted. I've just recognized that there has been a change in my understanding of balance. I was actually looking on on Amazon to try and find one of those really cute desk structures that's like either got two guys on a teeter-totter and it's got like one pin in the center, right? And you push on it and they teeter and totter. And I've always, I picture life a little bit less like that balance scale or that teeter-totter, and I think of it more like a merry-go-round, and how that center point could be in the center, but everything is weighing and balancing differently, and it's what makes it go around. It's like what creates the momentum. And so when I think of balance now, I think of it differently, because I used to think I needed to fit in scripture study, and I need to make sure that has a big chunk of time, and then I need to make sure that I have tons of time with my family, and I need tons of time to work, and I need and there just isn't that much time to fit it all in, and so I never felt like I could fit it. And I recently started doing a fun new hobby, and it's bodybuilding. That's why, sorry, I did not know there would be a bunch of boys here, so we can change this. If this bothers you, we can change the slide. But bodybuilding has gotten me to refocus on how to balance. And I have always been an athlete. I've always viewed myself as an athlete. I will say, now I review myself as an athlete. When I had little kids, my outlet was to go running. And I would run because I could go out the door, and if I got a call, I could run back quickly. There was not that far between me and my house. I would just do laps really close by. And when I was needed in that time of life, all the time, I knew that I could get what I needed to and be within the vicinity of my home. And so that's how I got a lot of my energy out. That's how I hung out with friends. And so I had that. When I was in college, I played soccer. When I was in high school, I played soccer. And I always had these things that drove me. And I didn't have that for quite some time, or I was trying to create it. I would run marathons, or I would ride bikes. But I never really felt like it was the whole picture, and right now I feel quite whole, which I really love. And one of the reasons I think that is for me is I am extroverted, like we were just talking about. I like people, and I want to have conversations, and I want to talk about the things I love with them. And most of that had to do with homeschooling for this long period of time, this last while. And I love that, and it's a huge piece of me. But I often would think that time for myself, for my body, for my mind, for my heart was to be diminished a little bit. It shouldn't be as big as these other things. And what I'm realizing now is as I should probably not skip ahead. As I have been learning more about balance, this is what I've been learning. So balance is not about doing it all and getting it all in and piling it all on, which is kind of how I always viewed balance up until maybe this last year. But it's about growing as you go and becoming stronger through the changes in life seasons. So in my season of little babies, I needed to give more to them. And that was balanced. There was a little less time for me and a lot more time for them, and that was still balanced. And in early marriage, there was a little less time for friends and a little more time with my spouse. That was balance. I think I used to always think there was something wrong with my balance when one thing got more attention than the other. And now that I look at it, I can see that that is just a different season of balance. It looks different, and I've grown from all of those. So we can go to the other slide. So a couple of the tools that I feel like I daily think about are a couple of books that I love. One of them is called The Four Tendencies. The Four Tendencies is kind of like a personality profiling type of thing. You guys have probably read different varying ideas around those things. This one focuses on making your life, so it simplifies one of the things we tend to do naturally So there are 4 different tendencies, and what they revolve around are your response to expectation, whether it's internal expectation or external expectation. And we tend to lean towards certain ones. So an obliger, that's what as I read and tried to understand that, is what my tendency is. And it is that my idea is that you can count on me and I'm counting on you to count on me. So for me, external expectation really helps me. I'm gonna try not to make this too confusing, but let's say there is, this is happening, this gathering. I myself may not allow myself to attend. I can get in my own way. There's too many other things to do. I have too many, I have so many places to be and people that need me and things I need to do. But the fact that you invited me to be here placed me and used my tendency to get me somewhere I wanted to be anyways. And so I often use the things I learned from this book to help me accomplish the goals that I have. A questioner is somebody that their tendency is to, I'll comply if you convince me why. So that's somebody who questions things a lot. For example, if it's like, hey, do you want to come to this really cool panel? And they'll be like, what will it help me do? Why do I need it? And you have a bunch of answers to those questions, and if it makes sense, that person will come. So they need answers to questions, they need to know why. The upholder is someone who is very internally motivated. So I can see why I need to be there, and I will be there because I expect myself to be there, and I have set the reasonings why. And then the rebel, this one's maybe the most confusing one, is basically wants to do the opposite. That's the person who you can play, what's the word? Reverse psychology. Or you can play the reverse psychology card, where it's like, I don't think you even want to be there. It's probably not for you, right? And that person's like, oh, excuse me, I will be there tomorrow. Like, I will be there. So understanding this about myself helped me in regards to balance, but in a lot of ways. So with homeschool, I am not an organized person. Carly can attest, she is organized for me. But I am not super organized. These aren't even things that I'm down about anymore, because I recognize they're just not my strengths. So I'm not super organized, I'm not very punctual. I have a few things that I struggle with, but I actually view them now as strengths in some ways. And I place people in my life and in those positions to help complete me and help me to accomplish things. So, for example, this is Carly. She is probably one of my main motivators and one of my main puzzle pieces to my life. I struggle to I enjoy making food for my family. I like cooking, but I don't really want to plan it, and I don't want to think about it ahead of time or anything. But her family, we cook for each other, so they feed us half the time, and we feed them half the time. And that to me is Carly's family is expecting food. I will make a delicious meal. Not hard anymore. My external motivation is now in place, and it's easy to do. It's just fun and easy and simplifies. So I've got a Carly. My husband Brad, he is my basically all things. So for example, with work, I'm just gonna, with bodybuilding, I have a coach. I would never have accomplished any of the things I've accomplished, gotten on a stage, built muscle. I mean, I have exercised for years, but I never knew what was happening with my gut health. I never knew what was happening with my hormone health, and I would not have prioritized those things. It has been very easy for me to be those are not important, until I treated myself like an athlete and got myself a coach, and now he expects those things of me, and I get to expect those things of me as well. Our homeschool groups, I have them placed perfectly, that we need to be somewhere at a certain time. I have classes to teach, and and then my parents, I look up to them very much, and I care very much for their well-being and their happiness, and so when I need someone to expect something of me, I can ask them to expect it of me. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So another thing that has been a tool for me in creating balance is rest and recovery. One of the books I love is Teaching from Rest. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's all about making your focus and God's focus align. And spending the time with him to create an understanding of where we're both going and that we're going there together. Some of the ways that I do that is I have specific time allotted to him. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's like study scriptures time or prayer time or meditation time. The time I have set aside just for him is on the drive to the gym. And because I do that so consistently, I talk to him all the time. Or I listen to podcasts that I respect the people that teach them, and I believe that they have a similar view to passion and power and women and God and all the things that I believe in. And so I will listen to podcasts that I enjoy. Jennifer Finlayson Fife is one that I listen to constantly. I will listen to conference talks. I will listen to the scriptures. I will listen to lots of things about muscles and bodybuilding and nutrition, because those are the things that feed my soul and then feed my heart and my spirit. And then I also have like set times where I prepare. So this is the fuel I consider for my heart and my mind, right? This is my fuel. But then I tied that a little bit together with the fuel that feeds my body, and I have to give that a specific time. And if I didn't give it a specific time, it wouldn't happen. So that helps me to balance. And then I think I have one more. I really suck at making these things, by the way. It's not terrible, but it took me 3 hours to make 30 of these. But so heavy lifting through habit is, I have come to find that balance happens when I am intentional. And so when I'm intentional about the time I spend with people, that might be my homeschool groups, that might be my coach, that might be my friends and family. When I'm intentional about the time that I spend with them and making sure that I am totally there in that moment, my life feels balanced. And I think that we can sometimes feel like we're homeschool moms and that is the badge that we wear, and it's hard to take that badge off and go to work, or to go to learn something for yourself, or to go to the gym, or to go do the dance, whatever it is that you love. You think this badge has to be the most important one, but I really do believe that each of these pieces is part of who we are, and they aid one another. And when we find that it works together and it serves us well, that is when we have balance. And I like this picture because I have a few of these where I have to get a certain amount of steps, and that seems like a really tedious thing maybe for some people, or like another thing to cram into an already busy life. But every time I say, I gotta get my steps in, there's someone who wants to walk with me. And it's one of my kids, or it's my best friend, or it's my Heavenly Father. And those times that I'm intentional about that time, the people that I love are with me, and they're supporting me, and they're part of it. So I'm grateful that my family has joined me in that, and I've found balance with them. So that's what I have to share.
Well, hi, I'm Barbara, and finding balance. I don't know about you, but I hear those words and it makes my blood pressure go up, right? And for me, I start to get these, it evokes these images in my mind. And so, humor me for a minute. So the slide after this, this tranquil, beautiful color, right? So look at me. I do yoga. I'm peaceful, right? Very, very balanced. And this for me is one of the very first images that comes to my mind, is someone doing yoga, which just cracks me up. All right, and then the next slide. My personal favorite, the home around her that clearly has no children living in it. And if there are children living in it, there's definitely no boys, because you wouldn't have all those potted plants everywhere, because that dirt would be everywhere, right? But doesn't she look so peaceful? And why does balance have to mean that your home is spotless? I don't know where we get these expectations placed upon us, right? On the next slide, I have some pictures that, to me, this is a little bit more getting into the nitty-gritty and the dirty reality of balance. So there's a tray of drinks, and it's red, so you can feel the high stakes in balancing it.
The carpet's white.
Yeah, the carpet's white. You're wearing white, it's scary. But if you know anything about physics, and if you've ever done any waitressing, you know that if you lift the wrong glass up first, the whole thing's on the floor. So there's that challenge in balance, that it's actually an act, right? That expression of it's a balancing act. I love the tray of food because this is a whole meal here. So you have your main dish, you have side dishes, maybe multiple side dishes, dessert, beverages. And that's a really real issue that we have many different times in our life. It comes up again. We need to balance our food, what we're eating. And you might think at one point in your life you've nailed it, right? And then you change, you grow, you get older, and all of a sudden it's out of whack and you need to rebalance. You need to find that new balance. And then it wouldn't be complete to not include this mama here, because I know she's just a cartoon, but my heart goes out to her because this is how we feel. There's chores to be done, there's children to care for, and she's trying so hard to find some time to take care of herself. But when we try to sort of superimpose those outside expectations on ourselves in these moments where maybe it doesn't fit, maybe it doesn't work for us, we can't just go by this picture. It doesn't really work, right? It's not achieving what it's supposed to be achieving for her. Bless her heart, she's trying. For me, what balance is, it's not a destination, and that's what we first think, and why I felt so many crossovers with what you were saying, which made me almost emotional, because it's like, of course we would have similar ideas because we're all in this, experiencing this together. But it's not a destination. It's not a location that we can find. If we search hard enough, we'll find it, we'll get there, right? We'll climb the mountain and we'll sit on top of it and we'll cross our legs and meditate and we've reached it, right? Like it's a pinnacle. But that's the way that it's so often presented to us, especially from people who want to sell us something. What it really is it's a process. So I like to think of the way that we use the word balance in our languaging, right? So balancing act, we need to balance our meal. We need to balance our budget. We need to balance things out, right? It's this process, a very active and dynamic process. And that has plenty of trial and error in it, right? So if you take us to the next slide, this is a picture that represents homeostasis. And this is a scientific process that really means balance. And this is balance in motion, right? So feedback loops in our body, receptors, stimulus, receptors, right? Stimulus response. And what I like to think of is our body, it's constantly in this balancing act. All of the different systems in the body, so many different processes happening all at the same time. So blood sugar, electrolytes, waste removal, all of these different things that we're trying to manage. And I'm going to actually read you the scientific definition of this, of homeostasis. The ability of a system or a living organism to adjust its internal environment to maintain a stable equilibrium, such as the ability of warm-blooded animals to maintain a constant temperature. So think about just that one, maintaining your body temperature. We have this perfect 98 degrees-ish. They used to think it was 98.6, but now they think it's more like 98. So if you think about that, you take a shower, it's got to adjust. You go out and it's a little chilly out, you have to adjust. You eat, you sleep. Every little thing you do disrupts that perfect balance, and it has to constantly be adjusting. So instead of this pinnacle that we could reach, this mountain we could sit on, it's really, it's a little bit of this, a little bit less of this, and a little bit more of that. And I think of that tray, and if, and whoop, maybe we spill, and Sometimes you really need a reset and you have to start all over. And it's going on in all the different areas of your life. So we have our homeschool balance. Just by itself, are we balancing the subjects, the amount of time we're spending on different subjects and attending to the different needs of our different kids. But then there's also all of your relationships. And then there's your work and your home and finances and your personal health. And how many different kinds of health are there? So all of those things, and then how are they working synergistically all together? So I like to think of it as a dynamic equilibrium or balance. Remember, dynamic is active. That's what that means. So if you were stretching, there's two ways to stretch. There's dynamic stretching, which means you're in motion, and there's static stretching, which means you're holding still. So we are seeking balance in our lives. When we're seeking balance in our lives, we're actively maintaining health in all of the systems and processes that make up the totality of our existence. That is no easy task, and mistakes will be made. Our bodies often have something out of whack that we're working on. Sometimes certain areas need more attention than others, and that's why I love this last picture best of all. Our lives have seasons. Not just in the archetypal sense, I think of us as women in particular, there's maiden, mother, matriarch, and crone, right? And I'm having this really interesting era right now in my life with my little bonus baby, because it makes me feel like I've got one foot in one and one foot in another. So I didn't expect this chapter to include diapers. So my kids are 17 and 15 and 1. So big spread. So I'm kind of finishing up my homeschooling journey, and I'm also starting it all over again. And actually, I wanted to share I just realized this today as I was thinking about all the things homeschool in our lives. My son, who's 17, he would technically be a senior in high school, but he's taking classes at the university. He's taking my husband's class, his dad's class, in music history. And not music history, world music. And I thought, boy, in a way, homeschooling, it never ends, right? Still happening, he's in college, but he's getting to take a class from his dad. And kind of a dream come true. So, anyway, I digress. We think about our lives in seasons, also maybe chapters. Very similar to what Lauren was saying, there are times that we're going to focus on one thing more than others. There's a time when you'll feel that pull. You'll feel that need. And I always think that feeling is inspired. And I listen to that pull. So there are times that I know it's my relationship with my husband. That's what needs my focus right now. And I know my kids benefit from it, so that's okay. And when I'm taking the time to spend the time with my husband, I know that they'll benefit and they'll be okay. And then there will be a time when it's one child in particular that really needs more of you. And again, that's okay, because if you can honestly say to all of your children, hey, if it was you, this is what you'd be getting too, right? This is our needy one right now. And I also try to involve everyone in that when it's appropriate. I like to, I've got a baby, so everything that I do, there's a toddler on my hip doing it with me. And so sometimes I'm holding him and he wants something different, but okay, we're gonna go do this for Sissy right now. We're going to make sure that she has what she needs. Or he's in the back of the car and he's not happy about it. But he is, but I'm talking to him saying, we're gonna go do this for your brother right now because that's what he needs. And that's what we do because we're a family and we take care of each other. Right? So I know that stuff, it evens out and it works itself out, and it will all end up okay in the end. So I like to think of it the way, because this is my life right now, this is when you think about the way that toddlers eat. So if you remember, I know you remember those days, if you think about one day of their eating, you're in a total panic that they are terribly unhealthy and malnourished, right? Because there's the day, all you can get them to eat are crackers. That's it. They will not touch anything else. Then there's the day that all they will eat is fruit. That's it. That's all you can get them to eat. And then there's the day that they're so voracious, you can get them to eat anything. And if you focused on one day, you would think, boy, this kid is really, really messed up, and I don't know how he's gonna grow, and this is all terrible, and I'm failing miserably, da 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 da. But if you take a step back, and you look at what they eat across a week or two, you see that they're actually getting everything that they need, right? And that is how I keep myself from losing it and worrying too much. When I step back and I look across that time period, I know that everyone is getting what they need.
All right, I love how, like, we have so many different thoughts, and I'm gonna go ahead and say what I thought because it's said differently and it will resonate differently with some people. So this is what I picture when I picture balance, right?
It's Barbara.
Hold on, can you hear that sound? That like doo 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 doo. It's kind of quiet, but yeah. But the reality of life is more. If you can hear this song, it's a fugue by Bach. So Bach wrote Baroque era music, which was polyphonic. We learned this in homeschool, which means it has more than one melody or tune going throughout the whole song, and that makes me think of life, because there are more than one hat that we wear going throughout our life. All these different things that we're trying to keep track of that kind of weave like his melodies do throughout the song. So I'm going to share a few things that I've found helpful, a few thoughts. This is one that my sister shared with me at my first baby shower, and she's told me that everything is a phase and to keep that in mind with children. And when you get in a certain phase with kids, like they're not sleeping, sometimes it feels like this is my life now. I'm never gonna sleep all the way through the night again. They're never gonna sleep. This is just how it is. But obviously, like in our mind, we know that's not true. Eventually, they will sleep. Eventually, they will be potty trained. Eventually, they won't be teenagers. Like whatever the phase is, we know that eventually we'll be out of it. But sometimes when we're in the middle of it, it feels like this is how it will always be. So keeping that in mind has helped me put things in perspective. I won't always be in the Relief Society presidency, and I won't always have teenagers, going here, there, and everywhere. I won't always have little kids making messes in the house. These are all phases. And similarly to that, I've thought about waves. I've thought about how the universe kind of works in waves. Have you ever thought of how many wave types there are? We've got sound waves, sight waves, electromagnetic waves, like waves of the ocean. Similarly, life comes in waves. And what I mean by that is sometimes your week might look like this. There's a little bit going on, it's doable. Sometimes your week will look like this, right? You got stuff overlapping. Just like sometimes your house might look like this. It's warm, inviting, Christmassy, and sometimes it might look more like this. This is what we call, my kids would call making a nest. They would bring all the cushions, all the pillows, all the blankets into the living room, and they would love it, and sometimes I'd let them sleep in it, and it could stay for maybe 3 days, and then it was like, that's too much, you gotta put it all away. But thinking about it in terms of waves helped me realize that it's up and down, right? Schedules sometimes are super busy, but during that time, if I can remember, it's like this right now, but it's also gonna be like this sometimes. It would help me to like breathe through and get through those busy times. And on the converse, sometimes when our schedule wasn't busy, I would find myself worrying, what am I not doing? Like, we need to schedule some things. And it helped me to remember, right now we're like this, and that's okay too. Relationships, ups and downs. Sometimes my kids bicker a lot, and that would drive me crazy. But I tried to remind myself, for some reason, they're at this part of the wave, and I know there's other times when they get along great. The chaos versus the order. Motivation. Sometimes I'm really motivated to go and do things, and sometimes I just want to chill. Sometimes life is super exciting, sometimes monotonous. I feel like both of those can be summer vacation. Sometimes we have really exciting things, and sometimes it's boring. Health versus sickness, stress, sleep. I've struggled a bit with, what's it called, where you can't sleep? Insomnia throughout my life, and for a while it would really stress me out, thinking I need to get to sleep, I've got to get up at this time tomorrow, and this sitting there like worrying about it actually made it worse. And when I kind of told myself, okay, this is also in waves right now, for whatever reason the sleeping is not happening very easily, it kind of gave me permission to relax into it. All of those are okay to experience, the ups and the downs. Obviously, there are sometimes things that you can affect. You know, with the sleeping, I can keep a good schedule, I can turn off screens, I can not have caffeine, those types of things. But sometimes you just have to accept and let go of it. Then another thing I think of is that everyone's waves differ, so don't compare. If you look at a wave, there are wavelengths, the difference between when it's up and when it's up over here. Sometimes it feels like one person's time of trial is super long, and while other people, maybe their ups and downs are really high, or maybe their life seems more like this. It's all okay, don't compare. Have you ever felt this way? Yeah. I feel this way a lot. So I not only wanted to share some thoughts that have helped me, but some tools that have helped me. So one tool that helps me is Google. I am very much a Google girl. I have some memory issues, so I find putting things on, like using these tools, very helpful. If something is not on my calendar, then I'm probably not going to remember it. And so I've become very strict that if I schedule anything, it goes on my calendar, and I found that really helpful. Similarly, this is my tasks. I use it to help keep track of all those different hats that I'm wearing and get all the thoughts that go around in my brain out of my brain. If I put it down, then I don't have to keep rethinking about it. I think I also wanted to point out there's one down here called ignore. And I found that helpful because sometimes there's jobs or like tasks that I'll think of, and it'll be on there for a while, and if I keep seeing it, it just stresses me. And I can choose to do it or not. It's not like I have to, do this certain thing. But I don't want to take it off because I might forget it then. But I don't necessarily want to see it all the time. So I put it on ignore, and then if I want to go look what's on there, I can, but I don't have to see it all the time. So maybe that's just a weird thing for me, but I found it helpful. Okay, so sometimes having my phone in front of me all the time can get overwhelming. There was a certain point where I was really busy. I had a lot of responsibilities, and when my phone would ding, it dinged so much that it started giving me anxiety when I would hear it ding. So I had to go back to analog for a while. I got some notebooks, and they were smaller, but I would just carry them around with me, and when I needed to keep track of something, I would write it in the notebook, and that helped me de-stress from phones for a while. Similarly to that, I also like to use a physical calendar at our house. This is in our living room where everyone can see it. This is when we went on a trip, so it doesn't usually look like that, so fun and like one thing on each day. But the fact that it's in the living room where everyone can see it helps kind of keep us all on the same page. Everyone can have an idea of what's going on. I started it when my kids were little, and down at the bottom was the temperature, so they would know how to dress that day. But since then we've moved it to 2 weeks, and I just find that helpful. Some other things that I've found helpful is reminders on my phone. Leaf Snap is a thing that reminds me to water my plants. I have used grocery pickup and similarly HelloFresh to help me with meals. And these are tools that you can choose to use when it's convenient, when you feel the desire for it. In running our business, I've found AI helpful. It learns from what you put in it, and so when I need to write an email for our business, then I go on there and I say, help me write an email about this, and it puts something out, and it's a place to start. So I think of it kind of similarly to the grocery pickup and HelloFresh. I can have it give me an idea, like, hey, I want to look up a recipe online. Or I can have it give me the recipe and all the ingredients, like HelloFresh. And then another thought that I had was routine versus flow. So I am really bad at routine. I've thought the only thing that I do constantly or have done constantly throughout my life is brush my teeth. But I'm really good at flow. And so what I mean by that is with dishes at our house, we've kind of gotten in the flow that when we get done eating, everybody takes their dishes and puts it in the dishwasher. And then I don't have to do the dishes necessarily. I start it when it's full, and then the kid's job is to unload it usually. Or with the bathtub, I like to take baths, not showers usually, and so when I get to the bathtub, I will just quickly wipe it clean, and then the bathtub's getting cleaned regularly. So these things are like flow to me, not necessarily it's on a schedule. On Wednesdays, I clean the bathtub. It's as needed, and that's helped me. And then the last thing is follow inspiration. I loved that you talked about teaching from rest, because that's another of my favorite books as well. And I love the idea that interruptions in life can be opportunities throughout our day, that we can see them as inspiration, that maybe that's where our day needs to go. I also found it helpful to make a list of things that fill me, so that when I need something for me, I can look and I have ideas. And then the last thought I had was, a friend of mine once surprised me. She asked me, what is your secret? How are you always happy? And I'm obviously not always happy, but that was her perception, and it kind of caught me off guard, and I had to think. My secret is choosing gratitude. I heard a really inspirational and influential talk one time about a lady who learned to give gratitude in all things. You can also say for all things. And I tried it, and giving gratitude even for the things that seem bad has been really helpful to me, to help me realize how they could be a blessing in disguise. And I feel that having a positive outlook really changes everything. Even if your situation doesn't change immediately, I think that finding balance is really trying to find a sense of contentment, I liked how you said the word equilibrium, peace, joy. All those things are internal. And so choosing our attitude, choosing how we feel is really influential in helping us find balance. That's my thoughts.
Thank you so much, ladies. Did anyone have any questions on anything that they want to ask more specifically about?
First of all, great choices on people that you up here. I feel like the most rounded people I know. I do have a question for you guys. Like, do you feel like because I feel like you guys are all so well rounded and so well balanced in your lives, do you feel like right now you just happen to be really balanced, or are you just typically like this?
We didn't give our presentations well enough. Should we show them how
I don't know. I guess because I'm not supposed to compare, but I am like, man, I feel like I've been in winter for a very long time, and when I think about you guys, I feel like you are going through your seasons very well. I guess my wavelength is a lot longer than your guys's would be, and I wonder if it has to do with personality, if you guys just typically you're taking care of yourselves. I would say you guys do a good job taking care of yourselves, but like from a young age, do you guys feel like this has been who you are, or do you just happen to be hitting a good, I don't know.
We're up here on the wave.
Yeah. I mean, Barbara, you freaking have a baby.
Yeah.
When I would not be able to be sitting up here talking about balance if any of my kids were young. So anyway.
Well, I mean, I let me just say that there's an army supporting me. You know, my kids are just learning how to be amazing. You know, they're amazing siblings, and they love helping take care of their brother, and I mean, it's incredible. And my husband too. I mean, they're, you know, it's a team effort. When you see me, there's a team behind me that made it, you know, possible. And I feel that very strongly. I also, you know, monetize taking care of myself. You know, I'm a fitness instructor, and so that's kind of a neat, sort of like the way how you use, like I'm picturing the circle, the obliger, you know, you use it to make it so that
Put yourself in a good position.
Yes. So if it was up to me, would I prioritize that? I don't know if I would. But also my family has learned that it's in their best interest. I know that everyone starts to feel it like, ooh, mom hasn't been to class in a while. Go work out, we love you so much. You know, like there's that too. So, and that's great because that means we're all kind of paying attention to each other and feeling, ooh, someone feels out of balance, and let's you know, rebalance that, and it benefits all of us. I don't know. I want to share this with you guys. My sister and I, we were young adults, so like maybe early 20s, and we were out somewhere, probably doing something fun, and it was at night. I remember it was dark, and we were walking out in the parking lot looking for our car, and she just hooks my arm and says, do you ever just feel like you're just kind of faking it, being an adult, and someone's just gonna jump out from behind somewhere and go, you're faking it, we know it, you don't really know what you're doing. And then we just laughed and just like ran off to our car together, like arm in arm, just being silly. And I think about that all the time, because I feel like that all the time. You know, like we're all just kind of, you know, and it's not even fake it till you make it. That's not really the right, for me, that doesn't resonate. It's more like when you're a kid and you look at the adults, you think they have it all figured out and they just know everything, and it's almost mystical, magical. And the older you get, the more you realize, like sometimes I actually think back to my mother or whatever adult, I really thought they had it figured out. They had no idea what they were doing. And I know that now, you know, and I even sometimes, I think about my mom when she was in her early 30s. girl did not know what she was doing. But you had no concept of that, and it's really just more this learning experience, or learning curve, really. The older you get, the more that you realize nobody has it figured out, and we're all just, making up as we go along, and that's okay. So I just chuckle when you say that, oh, you look so bad, you gotta, I'm just going to come around the corner. My sister's gonna pop out. We know. But thanks.
No, I think that's very true. Just because we're talking, we're the experts at being balanced, I don't think that means that we are completely balanced. I think it just means we have some things that we've learned that we're willing to share. And I also have noticed, because comparison's been a thing in my life, this sounds a bit conceited, but people compare themselves to me, and it's felt hard to me sometimes, because they'll be like, oh, you're so good at this or whatever, and it's made me sometimes feel like, well, should I not be, because I don't want to make them feel bad. But I thought a lot, so I've thought a lot about it, and it made me realize that there's so many things that they're good at that I'm not good at, and similarly, there's so many things that perhaps are balanced in your life that aren't even on my radar, or that I'm unbalanced in. I don't exercise, I will admit that. It's something I would love to do, but I haven't made it a priority. But I am really good at other things, and they may not be good at those things, but they're rocking it at the exercise and being physically healthy. And so everybody, I think, has their priorities and their strengths, and that's something to think about in balance.
I think you hear from me all the time, not even talk very long. But I think what has helped me realize, I know that I am no expert at being balanced. I feel like it was such a gift that she texted me, because it helped me to realize, hey, I actually have figured something out for myself. And I think like you were saying, when you recognize that what your gifts are gifts that are offered to the world, that are offered to you, and that those are your gifts, and you are amazing at them, and you are balanced in those things, and that when those are the things you put weight into, I think that's God saying, you're balanced. You got this. You have gifts to offer that other people need from you. I hope I remind you that all the time. If I don't, slap me. But Carly has so many gifts that I don't have. So I need her. And I think I get that from my community. You surround yourself and you draw in what you lack. Partially, I think, because we look up to, oh my gosh, you're so organized. Look at that calendar. And yet, I know that I could count on you if I needed organization in my life. And yet, I don't expect that of myself. I expect myself to learn and to grow and try, especially for my daughter, who's very organized and needs me to be on time. I will do that for her, but that may not be my natural tendency or my natural gift. But I think when we recognize that our gifts are a gift to the world that God gave unto us, and that we are made perfectly by His hands, and that we're growing in all things, in all ways, that's what we were made to do, then balance is just going to come little by little. I don't think I'm very balanced.
Well, I do think you're very balanced.
You're so nice.
And especially you look back a year ago, and I feel we've talked about it. I feel like you're just so much more balanced now, where you're taking the time to take care of yourself. You're adding that back into the mix, because balance.
And it surprisingly helps in all these ways you'd think it would pull on. Yeah, that has been surprising. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I agree. That was just a fabulous panel. I feel so grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that other people will be able to watch this and benefit.